What's up?
What's up?
Let me do my best. We're back.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to episode number 106. How'd I do?
That's a pretty good imitation of the great bald and bearded one. He's not with us today, but that's okay. We've got lots to talk about.
Yes, we do, and we have a killer interview at the end.
We do have a killer interview that's becoming more and more relevant every day. But so Scott, as I mentioned before we went on, and we're still kind of waiting for people to drift in. I guess there was a scheduling issue. So drift away, come on in. We don't bite unless you want us to, but that's for another story. Anyway, I'm just now starting to get some of my taste and smell back, and so it's been an interesting 3 weeks of learning how to just eat, because you're supposed to eat to survive because you're hungry, but yet you don't. It's interesting what you taste and what you don't. And even music didn't sound that great to me until just this past week. So I don't know what all the ramifications of COVID are. I know that it's a real thing, and obviously we've lamented the passing of some great people, including the great Eric Wagner. And so I had to, before we even get started, I pulled this because this I quoted from this last week, or tried to. But anyway, we've got a good show today. We're going to talk about and you said something interesting, because you said doom and stoner rock, because they kind of get confused. And so I think sometimes that does happen. It's like when you ask somebody you've never met before, and they ask you, "Oh, you listen to metal?" And you say yes, and they say, "Oh, you mean like Metallica?"
Right.
And so it's not as inclusive as it should be, I guess. So the doom and stoner thing, maybe we can separate that out a little bit. But we're going to go on for about 30 minutes, and then watch another killer interview that we just got really lucky on, and we can take it from there. So and I do want to shout out a couple of people, and then you can have the floor.
Yeah,
I apologize for being so mouthy, but shout out to all the folks down in New Orleans. Phil and Selmo and Kate. Hopefully they weathered the storm. I heard back from Varnum Ponville, formerly of Gamma Side, the great and mighty Gamma Side here from Dallas. And also he has his own band called Cauldron. Varnum Ponville Cauldron, not to be confused with the Canadian version. But they actually literally weathered the storm. He said it was not the worst storm he's ever been in, but the second best, or the second worst. And power to the people. Glad they survived. I hope they literally get power to the people, because they don't have any right down there. There's about 1 million customers down in that area that don't have power. So positive vibes, and it's sent their way, and hopefully that resolves itself sooner than later. What say ye, Scott?
I want to shout out a band called Biogenesis, and specifically After Winter. Now, back in 2019, I did an album cover for this progressive band from Ohio called Biogenesis. It was their 5th album, I think, and it was called Black Widow. And I grabbed the promo of it. I don't have the actual covers framed up there, but that's the Black Widow logo I did for them for their cover. It came out on vinyl and CD. But in any case, last year the band split. Not that they're not doing stuff anymore, but the entire band, all the musicians, split from the singer. The singer is keeping the Biogenesis name, has new members, and have a new album coming out. Biogenesis, all the musicians formed a new band called After Winter. Well, they toured for a couple years under the Biogenesis name, and they're no longer going to be touring under that name anymore. So they sent me
Oh wow, that's
One of their
awesome.
one of their two drum heads that they used, the drummer used on the tours, and had the whole band minus the singer sign it to me. So I thought that was really cool of
That
them
is
to do.
cool. Very cool.
And it looks really cool on the bass drum. It was perfect for that, that
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. Kind of has that nice fading
Yep.
impact.
Which is the way the original cut the record looked too. So anyhow, I thought that was really cool. Then they didn't have to do that, and I really appreciate it. So shout out to Biogenesis. Biogenesis new album coming out in 2021. After Winter new album coming out in 2022. So there you go.
Cool.
So we're gonna get into Doom.
Yeah. Doom and stoner rock, and I see that TJ Lewis from one of our house bands Forebode just popped in. What's up, TJ?
So I mean, you can't. We're gonna basically be talking 5, 6, maybe 10 of our favorite stoner or specifically Doom albums. But I think you can't really talk about Doom, which is my name today, Scott Doom Waters.
Yeah.
You can't really talk about him without at least mentioning this. I mean, this is, for all intents and purposes, the first Doom album, right?
It certainly has some doomy elements. I mean, starting with the title track.
And even the album cover has that kind of look to it. So
it's on my bucket list to go to that house, and I mean, I won't dress up like that gal, but I want to stand in front of that the farmhouse where it is out in the country. But
and there's also we said we weren't going to really talk much Trouble because we did a whole episode on Trouble last week.
Yeah,
but I thought I can't not mention at least one Trouble album. And This Skull's always been my, well, I guess that's what they call it now. I always just called it Trouble, but now they call it, what do they call this one now? They call it Psalm 19 or Psalm 9.
Psalm 9.
Psalm 9. Yep. That's. And anyhow, I always loved the album cover. I always loved the album, but this is definitely of the Doom variety, where I think as that particular band moved on, they kind of went more into the stoner rock variety.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of cool. I think that the two are interlinked, and so in fact, you know me, I don't just stick to the middle. I go to the extremes of both ends of just about every genre. But how could we be talking about Doom and not be talking about the mighty Solitude Aeternus? And this was their last effort, and I think that they left it all out on the field. This thing is really, really awesome. So if the only thing the bad about the vinyl is that one of my favorite tracks, Embrace, is on the CD only. So you have to buy the CD that's on Metal Mind, which is a Polish company, and it has the bonus track, and it really is. It's as meaningful as the Blackfinger track that I was referencing last week. But
I pulled Adagio. I couldn't decide which one.
Man, they're all so good. In fact, the funny story, I met John Perez. I used to write an underground newspaper called the Hepatitis News, and it was just basically my opinion on rock and metal and so forth. And when they released Downfall, I had gotten one of the original copies that was so choppy, and it was unmastered. I later came to find out, and I said in my very simple blurb on this album, I said, "Solitude Aeternus, Downfall. What a perfect name, because that's what's going to happen to the band." This album is their downfall. And I later I apologized to John, and I said, you know what? As I listened to it over and over again, I get it. But it certainly was a stark change from some of the others. But they've really never put out a bad record. They're all just punishingly good, very poignant lyrics, and just the riffing. I mean, John is he's not only our friend, but he is one of the most amazing Doom guitarists. So you can't mention Doom without mentioning Solitude Aeternus.
And the vocalist in the band is also very defining.
Yeah. Well, and Robert, and you know, that was kind of the demise. Robert, for the lack of a better term, had some personal issues, and he went on to do some other things. Didn't he? Wasn't he in Candlemass for a while? And he was in I can't even remember the new Tyrant. He's on the new Tyrant record, and so he has the ability. There is no doubt. I just think that sometimes he's a victim of himself. But enough said about that. And if Robert wants to pop on, and we'll be happy to talk to him.
Yep. And I always considered a Solitude Alternus epic doom as opposed to the more traditional doom. And I kind of split. I kind of split doom into those two different areas. These bands kind of the traditional doom, then there's the epic doom, and then there's other styles outside of that too, which I did grab as well. But what's your next one?
Well, I didn't know whether to include this or not, but since we mentioned his name already, Phil Anselmo. This is really bizarre. It's almost like orchestral doom, but I think if maybe we should define what doom really is, because I think doom has, I mean, we're not talking about chicks and bikes and fast cars and so forth. This isn't like a Motley Crue themed genre. This is more.
It's not party time.
No, it's not party time. It's more introspective. It's slow, so you're processing as you're going, and it's almost like you're going deeper and deeper into your own mind and your own thoughts. So I think that's where doom becomes different than stoner rock, because I think stoner rock has some of those party elements, although it has the down tuning and some of it's fast, but some of it's really sludgy and slow, like the early Blue Cheer stuff.
Right,
I think that's, but you know, and as we start to talk about stuff like that, modern bands like Earthless, Fu Manchu. I mean, these are great. These guys have all been around a long time, and they've pulled off those elements, kind of like the Blue Cheer, the Witchfinder General, Sabbath. You know, we could go on and on, but I mean, once again, I go way far off the path. You know, this is Funebrarum. They call it funeral doom, and it's basically super slow down tempo death metal, for the lack of a better term. But it has some of those same. If you take the vocal out of it, it sounds like regular doom. So strangely enough, and
got that going. I got one of those going on here too. Exhumed of the Earth by Paramecium, Australian.
That thing is really awesome. Yes, and for that same reason. It's
the very first song on here, which is epic length. It starts off and you hear this double bass, and it's real slow. You're used to hearing double bass, you know. This is it's just like it's so plodding and heavy, and you kind of almost expect it to build up, and it doesn't. It just gets heavier, but it keeps that doom sound.
You know, I had somebody describe doom to me like you're crawling up a very cold, wet mountain, and you're trying desperately to get to the light, and you just can't do it. It seems like your trip is so there's so many obstacles and so many things in your way. But speaking of Funebrarum, they've been around a while, but there's a whole pile of this. This is like a new wave of stuff. Bands like Mortiferum and Austriarium and Tomb Mold, one of my favorite names, and Gatecreeper and some other bands that are starting to see some real notoriety. And yet it's elements of doom, but this is like way out from left field. And but once again, you know, who can deny the Caiuses and the Nebulas and the Fu Manchus? And here's one of my new favorites is Radio Moscow. They're a modern California desert band. They have elements of rock, doom, sludge, all the above.
I just thought I should have pulled.
What's that?
As I was digging today, and I kept finding more and more stuff. I'm like, man, this is going to be impossible to keep this to only 5. And then I ended up pulling 10, and I keep thinking of more. Oh, I should have pulled that. Oh, I should have pulled that.
Right. That's what I did, but I just stopped because we ran out of time. Here, I pulled this one for Rob.
Okay, I got one of those too, because I just think they're another band you just can't talk about doom without. And this is what I call traditional doom.
Right, and this is a little different. And guess who it's produced by?
Yeah, Don Dokken.
Don Dokken. That's why I pulled it. There you go, Rob. You're welcome.
And this was my first introduction to St. Vitus back in the 80s, and to this day, I always love this. You know, the title track here, and kind of think of it as more of a a soundtrack to my life, Born Too Late, because I heard that my whole life. I've had long hair my whole life, and especially in the '90s, long hair is not cool anymore. What are you living in the '70s? I guess I am. So I don't know what.
I'm just living.
Speaking of traditional doom, and we already mentioned this guy's name. He's the singer of this band, but Last Chapter.
Oh yeah, Robert Lowe. That's a great record. That has actually there's a second volume of that too. Believe it or not, is that? Yep. Oh, there you go. Do you have the one with Creeping Death on it?
No, these are the original pressings.
Yeah, the reissues. One of the reissues had Creeping Death, and it's really, man. Robert, when Robert is on, Robert is really, really on.
Yeah, he did a great job on that new Tyrant last year.
Yeah. How about this? This is sort of a crossover, and you know what? Their early stuff was so slow, and so Dope Smoker is an epic record. This actually has some melody, but this thing is so heavy. And I saw them at Psycho Vegas a couple years ago, and was just totally impressed. Not only by the volume at which they played, but with the precision that they played. And I know a lot of people may think that doom is easier because it's slower. I think just like any type of music, if it's not played right, it's not going to sound right.
Right.
So
yep. The album I was thinking of that I should have pulled was the band Red Mesa. I think they have 3 albums.
Yeah.
They call themselves Desert Doom, and they're great too.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, the current bass player who played on the last album, is still with the band, was one of the bass players in my band Ultimatum. He's been playing and touring with Red Mesa. But here's one it's not real popular, may not know, but they have several albums out from the UK. Pylon.
Pylon, yeah.
Okay, and I couldn't decide which one to pull. I've got several other albums, but you know what I really like about both these albums, and I mean I like the whole album, but both these have a cover song on them, and they took these cover songs and they made them so much their own that I just love them. But on this one here, they do a doom, and I mean slow doom version of South of Heaven by Slayer. And
Interesting. I would love to hear that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that back in the '90s in the UK. A band called Decomposed. The guitarist, as I remember John Perez telling me, was the son of the crazy somebody Brown.
The Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Yeah, Arthur Brown. That was his father, and this guy played guitar. And I think when Solitude recorded Darkest Hour, that they used this guy's equipment over there. So that was the tie-in there. But
they went on to become Atomic. Not Atomic.
Have you ever heard of Wofat?
Atomic Rooster. That's what I was thinking of.
Atomic Rooster, yes. Yeah. Wofat. Anybody?
I've heard the name, but I own nothing by them.
Okay, Wofat is a local Dallas band, and something that Kent Stump is the guitarist and main chief songwriter. But something that he said, he and it reminded me kind of and I know this is a stretch, but ZZ Top. And as I was listening to ZZ Top Tres Hombres the other day, it struck me that all the notes are so meaningful. It's not an Yngwie Malmsteen thing where we have 64 notes in a 4-count measure. We have one note extended, and Wofat is the king of that. And so anybody looking for some good local killer production, these guys own a recording studio, one of the few 2-inch tape recording studios in the nation, here in Dallas. And but once again, it's kind of that 3-piece power trio, extended notes and atmospheric vocals, really, really killer. And I guess TJ's the only one that's joining us today. Analog Man. Yes, that's a killer Wofat song. Let's see. He mentioned something about Electric Wizard. Sleep and Electric Wizard are the next generations of Black Sabbath. I truly believe that. They have a similar vibe to them. Excuse me.
There's one other band. I don't know if they're still together. I'm trying to remember the name of the band. It's driving me crazy, but I believe the first album was called Orchid. Help me out here.
Orchid. The band is called Orchid.
Okay.
They're from San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't think they're together anymore, but I thought they were fantastic as well.
They were equally as good.
But one thing, let me say something about this one real quick before I forget, because I did want to mention on this other pylon or pylon, or however you pronounce the name, that they do a cover of Paranoid on this one, but it is the slowest, most doomiest version of Paranoid you've ever heard.
And neither one of us mentioned Pentagram.
Wait.
Okay.
All right. So I cannot talk about Doom without talking about this guy, and this is Victor Griffin. This is one of his first solo albums. Victor Griffin being the guitar player from Pentagram. Who else was he in? Death Row, Engraved, Place of Skulls. He played guitar in Cathedral for a while, but I mean, he's most known for his work with Pentagram.
Right.
But anyhow, I don't have the vinyl version of this. There is a very limited pressing of vinyl that came out years ago. I wish I did. But in any case, this is the original. This is a recent CD pressing on Stone Groove Records. And but yeah, I couldn't. You can go on almost any Pentagram record, but this is the last album that I believe it was the last studio album they did, and it's as good as, to me, as the old '80s stuff they did. And this band's been around since the '70s.
Right.
If anybody's ever seen the autobiography video they did on the vocalist and the band, it's interesting. It's depressing, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of what not to do.
Can you imagine if Pentagram had released that first album back in the '70s instead of not till like 85?
Yeah.
The difference that would have made in them. But in any case, I can't. Any Pentagram is good with me, but I really thought this was a great album from them.
No, they didn't really put out a stinker. They had some that were better than others, but never put out a stinker. Grego had mentioned Down from NOLA. I can't disagree with that. In fact, Grego, maybe you can chime in about N minor. Is that Doom? Is it not Doom? I called it orchestral Doom, and with Phil in a coat and tie. Well, at least a jacket and slacks. But anyway, let's see. TJ says Victor Griffith left the band on tour, and when we played with Pentagram was a major bummer. That would because he's the heart and soul. He's the one that really grinds away, and that's the whole. I think that's the one common thing about Doom is the guitar sound, the guitar tone, and I think that too is the tie-in between stoner rock and Doom is they have a similar tone, similar tuning. And the riffs are meaningful. They're not a million riffs. They're not a million miles an hour, but they sort of weave a tapestry of
that. A weave a tapestry is a perfect way to describe it. Yep. Yeah. And then of course, I love this band. I have everything they put out on anything that's on vinyl. I have it on vinyl. I have all their 7-inch singles or 10-inch singles or CDs. But anyhow, this is also Victor Griffin's band.
And who's singing?
This particular album, I don't remember who's singing on it, but this particular album is it's one of their darker albums, even lyrically.
Because I know Wino had done an album with them.
You're one step ahead of me.
Okay, there we go.
This probably is my favorite Place of Skulls album. It's hard to say. I like so many of them, but yes, Wino sang on this particular album. So, yeah.
And you never know. He might even mention that when we talk to him next.
Right on. And I got one more I can show. How about you?
Sure. No, fire away.
I actually got two more. One to show and then one to lead into our interview. But
okay.
This is a band that I like a lot, and I wish I had more in my collection.
Oh man, yeah. See, that's the problem with what we do. We come up with a couple ideas, and then we think we got a good solid stack of records. But see, I didn't even get to Count Raven.
Yeah. I need to get more Count Raven in my collection. I literally have a list on my computer of things that I want, and it's a never-ending list. They are ones where I need several of their albums, and it's funny because whenever I want to hear Count Raven, I immediately grab for this record. But I know they have more great stuff out.
And here we are. Let's see, we got COC, some of the COC things, and their music, their format just it traversed kind of thrash punk, hardcore to full-blown stoner rock to full-blown doom. Once again, you can't, there's so much music out there. And in fact, I mean, no, I guarantee you nobody's ever heard of Gorilla, but girl bass player, killer guitarist, and vocalist, and man, this thing is heavy as a gorilla. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, but that's more of the modern stuff. And
how about 70s doom? I mean, I know we talked Sabbath, but there was a band from Canada, War Pigs, who I thought was pretty much in this a similar doomy fashion for the 70s.
yeah, and I think the 70s were kind of steeped in that down-tuned way of playing and so forth. I mean, because they were Witchfinder General and
That's another one I was going to mention. Yep.
Yeah, there's another one for you. But anyway, all that being said, we're just throwing out ideas, and we do have a very, very, very cool thing that we've been kind of hinting and setting up. So I'm going to let you make the introduction.
Cool. All right. I got a real quick thing, and then I'm going to show this, and then it'll be the introduction. But I did show this, and I forgot to mention that this was just reissued on CD. If anybody's interested in this, he's even got CD autographed copies over there. I think it's stonegrooverecords.com. Very small independent label out of Phoenix, Arizona, that focuses on doom, stoner, and ambient music. So
cool.
If anybody's interested in that. But yeah, I wanted to show this recent solo album from Wino. I listened to this whole thing again today. Can you do doom and be acoustic as well?
Yeah, yes, because Wino does it every time he does an acoustic set.
Yes, and this is it's acoustic. You tend to think almost folksy kind of stuff when you think of acoustic, or maybe even bluesy. It is neither. It is neither one. It is very dark, very almost. I hate to use the word depressing, but almost depressing in sound.
It's ominous.
Yeah, that's a good word to use rather than depressing.
Sure.
But it's definitely doom. It's very doomy. But there are no or very little electric guitars. I think I'm almost positive I heard a solo that was electric on here. But regardless, great record. I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed it, being that it's acoustic.
And Rob and I had the fortunate opportunity to actually stand with Wino for 20 minutes or so. He and the Obsessed played that show with the Skull and at our local division brewery here in Arlington, Texas. And so we thought since we're talking about doom, we just cue that up and let you guys check out another cool interview. And this he is pretty wide open. Someone said he's kind of like the stoner version of Ted Nugent. And so, you might get a little bit of that. He's got the hat working and the biker feel to him. And so the interview was back on August 6th. It was a killer night. There were posters made and beer, and they had the Skull Obsessed IPA, which Rob has shown you. And anyway, so we thought it'd be cool that since we were talking about doom and stoner rock, that he's kind of the king of that genre, at least the modern day version. And of course, he's been around a long time too. And so he has some interesting things to say about how the band got started and what the way they used to be and kind of the crossover. And I don't know, we'll just let it speak for itself because, Wino is smarter than we are. So we'll let Monkey Butt cue that up and let it rip.
There it is.
All right. Appreciate it. Enjoy. Here it is.
Metal.
We're supposed to look at the camera? All right, here we go. That's up to you, man. You can do cartwheels, backflips.
What do you do?
I'm going to stand here and look at the camera, look at you,
right,
look at him. All right. Here we go. We are back. It is episode something I don't know yet. We'll decide that later. It is the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Robin. With me, as always, is the great
Carcass John.
But that is not what we are here to talk about today, is it? Because we have got a legend in our midst. Do you have any idea who that might be? Out of the three of us?
Legend's dead.
The legend.
Legends are dead, aren't they?
Oh,
You're definitely not dead.
No, he's a living legend.
We have got the great Wino with us from The Obsessed, and what else?
I did some stuff with Victor in Place of Skulls.
Place of Skulls.
Hidden Hand.
Spirit Caravan.
Caravan. I did something with David on the Pro Rod. it's been a rich history. I feel really lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
So I'm gonna hit you with an easy one. How's the tour going?
Tour's going good. We're now in Texas, which is like my favorite part of the tour.
Beautiful.
And so yeah, it's been really good so far. We're having a lot of fun.
Cool. Safe travels. What'd you do during lockdown?
What I did during lockdown was we grew some. Well, over summertime, I grew some weed. Plotting destruction.
Plotted destruction.
What did you do?
Beautiful.
Did you do anything musically, or you write just
I wrote some songs that hopefully will be on the next Obsessed record, and we are planning on doing another one. We're in negotiation. Well, actually, we pretty much agreed that we were going to do it on Ripple. And,
Cool.
Great
Yeah.
label.
Killer
he's
label.
great. Todd's my hero because Forever Gone was the name of my last solo record,
Yeah.
and I thought it was going to be Forever Gone because it was due to come out like right when Beloved hit or whatever, and I thought it was going to be over, and the mastering house burned right before that too. You know what I mean? So there's like two major mastering places, or not mastering, but actual pressing plants, I think.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And so basically, I thought I was doing it. He called me and said, "Man, we're going ahead with the release date, going ahead with everything." And I was like, "Wow, he's my hero, man." You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Todd.
great label.
Yeah, he's a badass. That is fantastic. So we gotta always somebody that's been around. You've been around for a while. What is the greatest fucking thing about doing this?
When all three members of the band have a fucking good night, man, you know? Like when it's a nice big show and the PA is right and everything's right and everybody has a good show, you know, that's magic there.
Nothing.
Because sometimes you can have I could feel like I had a phenomenal show, and Brian will say, "Oh man, worst show I've done." Well, I thought he played great, but we have you set high standards for yourself. But when all three people can have a good show and it's like everything is perfect, that's what I live for.
Oh yeah. Now you were saying something to the Carcass a minute ago about hanging out in the Catskills for a while.
Yeah. Well, my girl, probably soon to be my wife, we'll see.
Right on.
She's got a house in the Catskills she bought, and they were able to put a deposit on that house partially because her ex-old man got completely brutalized by the New York cops, and I guess he used part of that money to put a deposit down in this old house, and 1836 I think it was building, and there's a big addition put on there that's the jam room. And we had some work done on it, so now we got a really nice hammer. That's where my motorcycle is right now, chained up to the wall.
Chained up to the motorcycle.
Inside, chained up.
Motorcycle is chained to the wall inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause I'm not there.
That's rock and roll right there.
That
I don't
is
care who you are.
rock and roll.
That and my guitars and my lady. That's really the only things I have that are worth anything.
Now your lady's not chained up in there.
My lady? No,
Yeah.
she'll be here. She's coming here.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. I was gonna say because I mean,
No.
But-
Well, I mean, not
Okay.
not on that particular.
See, now you're treading on thin ice there.
No, not
Rob.
really. Not
No,
really.
just
Not really.
don't chain up the old lady unless everybody's on board.
She likes to get chained up.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, way back at the beginning, what got you rolling with the Obsessed? Give us a little brief history of the Obsessed.
Okay, I mean, I felt like that since I was young, really young, I just came out of my being a baby and just realized I wanted to play guitar. I swear, that's all I ever wanted to do. And I remember completely fascinated by the Monkees, completely fascinated by the Beatles. My dad was in IBM. First, when I was born, he was in the service in the Air Force, but he got out real quick. So then he got into IBM. And I guess they were kind of like the vanguard. So we were moving city to city initially. But I spent some time in Temple, Texas.
Yeah.
Which I love. That's like when I started to have really great memories, because I would just walk down the creek, and looks like there she is right there.
Let this lady in.
Go around back. Go around the other way. Hey.
There you go. Production value.
Production value.
Yeah,
Hell
we do this all the time.
Yeah.
So anyways, really loved Texas. Moved around quite a bit. Ended up in Canada, and then we ended up in Maryland when I was 8, and that's when I started taking guitar lessons. And I took lessons from this cat, and we would do like a half an hour, 15 minutes. We would do the book. 15 minutes we would jam. That's what's really cool about this guy. And I didn't take it very long, but what he taught me is invaluable. He taught me to hammer down and pull off with my left hand. And he was always about use your right hand. Like he's a big Roy Buchanan fan and all that. Pre Eddie Van Halen. So I mean, I had a few things things in my life that really helped me get into the rock. Another thing was there was a radio station back there. There was an AM radio station run by this guy named Barry Richards, was a DJ. And dude, they played some wild ass shit. But they played some great shit on AM back then. Like I remember sitting on the school bus listening to DOA, you know?
Wow.
Freaking out. Okay, and then of course, then there's I mean, this is even weird. Fucking Georgetown University is like a fucking Jesuit college,
Right.
but WGTB, on weekend nights, WGTB was the fucking station. And on that station, I heard Rocky Erickson. I remember one night, I was banging this chick, and she had this big old Lincoln. Her parents would bang back to Lincoln. They played Budgie In for the Kill in its entirety nonstop.
Come on.
I'm not kidding you, dude.
Wow.
So, you know, that was like that helped. And then it turns out I was also getting tutored by this other girl who lived behind me who was older than me, and she was like a really amazing acoustic guitar player. And she turned me on to like, I knew about Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and this and that, but she really got me into Allman Brothers, and I got really deep into Neil Young and everything, and she diverted me. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then Vitus comes along somewhere in this.
Well, what happened was, you know, we put the Obsessed together, and first we were like a punk band. You know, we were high energy. We wanted to be high energy. You know, we got this crazy lead singer, and we did that for a while. That was actually a pretty dynamic part of the band.
I think that Henry had a demo
Yeah.
from that, and I actually heard it, and it is very punkish. It doesn't sound anything like Incarnate or one of those records.
No, and you know, and he had a pretty distinct voice, and it was great, man. It really was. The only thing about it was that he was kind of prima donna, and eventually he started stealing the band. So the bass player Mark Lowry says to me, "Why don't you sing? And let's be a three-piece." And I was like, "Whoa, you know." I wasn't ready for that, but it seemed like the only thing to do, and so we started doing that. And then I realized that if we tuned a half step down, that it would all come into focus, you know, vocally. And so that's what we did, and that's how the Obsessed was born.
Okay.
And then we spun our wheels for a while, you know, on the East Coast, whatever. We played some shows, Philly, you know, New York City, based in D.C., Baltimore. But we never really did much. And then we had this lady manager us, and she went down to California and shopped us to Metal Blade.
Okay.
Because she was friends with Elvis Ferret, she had just done that move to all those movies, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So we got a deal with Metal Blade. Okay. Brian Slagle gave us a deal, but the deal was that you could put one song on the compilation, and then you get a full length, right? But on the fucking compilation, Metal Massacre 6 is right when thrash hit. Like almost like we did a version of Iron and Stone on that record. No, Concrete Cancer. But that's when like Possessed, Nasty Savage, Dark Angel, all those bands were on that record. It's like that's when like Slayer had just come out and gone through the roof. And so basically, Brian Slagle reneged on the deal. And so then we'd already recorded the full length ourselves because we figured if we already had it in the can ourselves and owned it, it would be way easier than to shop it and sell it because I thought it was produced pretty well. So then I had it in limbo. So
And this is the first Obsessed record.
it's the first obsession.
Okay.
So it's still
Yeah,
in
yeah,
limbo when I decide, fuck, I'm going nowhere here. And somebody said, well, turn me on to St. Vitus. And they said that they're playing down at this place in D.C. So it turns out they missed the gig. All right, they missed the gig because they left their singer in this is before cell phones. They left their singer in Roanoke by accident because two people would sleep up top. You know, one dude got to use a payphone, the dude got out to take a shit, the other dude got back in, and that was it.
They were gone.
Right. Because of that, they missed the gig. But because they missed the gig, they stayed over at a friend of mine's house who turned them on to the Obsessed. Right. The dude's invited us. Now, Scott, the singer, knew he was going to leave. So when they came back through with the Brood, I think it was, they played this little place in D.C. And then Scott Rieger said to me, he said, he goes, man, I'm getting ready to leave. Why don't you replace me? He wanted me to replace me. See, he had an okay there with Chandler, right? So it wasn't like an easy in. Like at the time, I had my fucking pineapple hairdo. I mean, just a phase, I mean, I thought we were doing that shit before anybody. I mean, we were doing that shit before Lord's in the Church or anybody like that, But I used to get the white makeup, do my arms real careful. I'd paint my fingernails blue. I mean, it looked like you just pulled me out of the river. I mean, that's what you're going for.
Right.
But anyway, so then Chandler's like, oh, he looks like a fat. So, but I was already growing my hair because, that was just a phase. It was a cool phase, but it was just a phase.
So the thing with Metal Blade doesn't work out, but the record comes out.
No, the record's not out yet. He reneged on the fucking full length.
Okay.
His deal was one song on a comp, the Metal Massacre comp, and then you would get a full length. But because right when the comp came out, that's when thrash hit, and I guess he deemed our kind of music wasn't fucking good enough for
Not thrash.
Right.
So I had it in the can. Right, so I still have it in the can when I joined Vitus.
Right.
I'm getting there.
Okay, yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So
This is all you, brother.
So basically, Rieger asked me to join the band, so I had to prove myself to David. So I hadn't really been officially, said, yeah, you're in the band here, but I already knew that was. And so I decided I'm moving to California. I'm going to take my strobe tuner with me. I'm going to put a little piece of paper on there so they know what to tune to, half step down for my voice. And then we're going to give, I was determined to join that band. Let's put it that way. And I knew when I joined that band that I wasn't joining that band to make money. I wasn't joining that band for fame. I knew we were going to struggle. It's just because the music was heavy and that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so basically I joined Vitus. So once we were over there, then of course SST just proved to be like completely like, I mean, yeah, they would put out the record, but they were totally lame. They never fucking paid us any royalties. So David's having no contract. One day we called out SST and they're like, hey, these German contacts and they want to bring you over to Europe. We're like, yeah. We were like, will you make us some shirts? He's like, no. Give us some tour support? He's like, no. But here's the deal. And so basically we went over there and that was Hellhound. Hellhound was a label and a booking agency at the same time in these cats, right? And so basically what happened is that they signed Vitus. We had to sign up with them. So then once we were signed with Hellhound, then I was like, look guys, I'll do the next Vice album, but I really want you to put this out too. I was sort of a little bit twisting their arm, but then when they heard it, they wanted it. And then I asked David, hey, is it okay if we tour? And he said, yeah. Of course, that changed later. So they then put out the fucking first record, self-titled.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I had to carry it through airport, man, and, they can't be x-rayed. So I was always like, these can't be x-rayed. I had a supervisor always battle you in the airport. But got it over there.
So you're literally carrying the master tape.
Master tapes.
Okay.
Through, and
wow.
I know you can't x-ray them.
No.
So this is the days before, this is pre-911, so they weren't, you could still do stuff, but as far as the tapes go, I wasn't trying to get them fucked up. So I got them through, and I think they did a good job, and I recorded that record with this guy, Ray Chilkins, who's a genius guy in Maryland. Right, so then I sort of became like the talent scout for the Hellhound, the German label.
Okay.
And then I got like Internal Void, a bunch of Maryland bands signed on that label. So that's how the Obsessed came about, And then, now I'm in Vitus. So I toured a couple times. David said, yeah, he didn't mind, but then of course he did, and it became a big issue. Then I had to choose. So of course I chose Obsessed. And so that started off the whole thing of us, doing some smaller tours in the U.S. And then we did Lunar Womb with Scott Reeder. And the story can get a little intense here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we can handle it.
We're all
I know
about
you can
intensity.
handle it.
We can handle
I know
it.
I can handle it. But I mean, maybe I'll just have to handle it later. All right, so I met Scott Reeder at this jam. Like when I was in Vitus, we went to this fucking coastal party, and I had a jam with Scott Reeder on drums. He's actually just as good drummer as he is bass player. On drums, Mario Lally from Yawning Man and That's It, Jessen.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Playing bass. And see, they just knew me as a singer from Vitus. Nobody knew I could play guitar yet. So I picked up the guitar, we started playing, and we had this magical jam. Then after that, me and Reeder agreed that we would get together at some point. It took a really long time, but at some point we did. And so then basically I said, listen, the Germans contacted me about going over again and doing the second record. And I said, no, I asked Scotty, I said, do you want to do this? And he said, no, because his old lady was like really uptight and thought that should be a brand new name, all this shit. Okay, I get it. Right? So I get this other play bass, this biker cat, Danny Hood, and he was amazing, man. He used to have he played a fucking EV3 long scale with like two acoustic fucking 375 heads and a huge cabinets. I mean, he wasn't fucking around, and he was like a fantastic motorcycle mechanic. He had this killer chopper way back when. He worked at Jammer, man. This guy was the dude. And unfortunately, he was in the band. We were going to go to Europe and everything. Unfortunately, he bought a motorcycle to resell, and as they were clowning around. They were drunk, I think, maybe, and takes they were clowning around, and I guess they were doing the stand on the seat type thing, I think. And anyways, he had an accident and went to go and died. So okay, that was really a drag. So now I've got the tour still coming up though. So I call Scotty back. And this time, now he wants to do it. Now it's okay to use Obsessed. So that was it. So that was, he was in the band. We recorded Lunar Womb. We did a tour, and at the end of the tour, we recorded the record. And then,
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Here comes the bomb.
As he takes a long sip off his beer.
I mean, I've known old Nick Olberry for a long time because Vitus would overlap with them. They just played with Caius in the day. So he was the bass player of Caius. We did this tour. It was like Success, it was Caius, Wolf, like another DC band, kind of, there's some Scream. Right. So, three bands. So we go through a lot of bullshit, like we do some small shows, sleeping on the dwarves floor, and I get beat up real bad in fucking, I got beat up real bad in Pinole, which is outside of Berkeley, because somebody in one of the other bands, I think the story was they were listening to NWA or something. And these gang members came through around the gas station, we're all gassing up. And I think something else happened, but I'm just going to go with the official story. And anyways, they didn't like the music they were listening to, so the whole gang didn't serve this. They grabbed Reader, and people lifted him up, and I was the only one to move to help him. I was like, even my band, my friends, took a couple steps, I was like, hey man, they just dropped Reader. Reader is not a small kid, by the way. I mean, he had him up off the ground. This dude turns around and man, he hit me so hard that I flew into the range of my drummer who was gassing the van up. And my face was completely fucked up, perforated lips, my eye. I looked like a monster, So, this day, the next day, we had hardly any money. We would change for sandwiches, all the vans were late, the hot sun was waiting to get in the venue, whatever, and I'm all beat up. And that's when Reader and Josh Homie had a little private lunch where they had steaks, all this kind of elaborate shit, all versus starving. They basically plotted for him to leave the Obsessed. They were going to kick out Nick, and they were going to take Scott Reader. But they didn't tell Nick, and Reader didn't tell me. So basically, we couldn't make the last show because I was just beat up too bad. We didn't want to go. We didn't want to drive all the way up to what's that city up above Seattle?
Tacoma, Washington,
Spokane. We didn't want to do the Spokane show because it just seemed like too much. So basically, right at that time, we're going back to LA, and Nick goes, I want to go see my girlfriend in LA. So he jumps in the van with us. The Reader goes with Homie, and that was it. It was crazy. Isn't that crazy? But the thing about it is, it was kind of underhanded, not a door like that, and man, it's like, I like
So
the twists and turns.
The twists and turns of rock and roll.
Yeah. So I mean, they have to wind back around later sometime. I can talk about it later on.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great, brother.
So the show that you're doing tonight here in Arlington, we're grateful for the Division Brewery and Growl Records. This is really a killer setup.
It's really cool.
So is this what number of? Are you already into the tour? 5 or 6 shows?
Yeah, I think this is the 7th show. I think.
7th show?
I think, yes.
So all the rust is off, and you're running on all cylinders.
Well, I got asked to do something really interesting tomorrow during the day. I have to kind of officiate a wedding. There's a friend of mine. There's a friend of mine.
I didn't know.
Well, I didn't know either. A friend of mine, he's vice president of Austin Banditos. He's also a mechanic friend of mine who did some work on my motorcycle. So I've been going back and forth to Austin and back, me and my girl, several times to get my bike together. He did some fabrication for me. I had his guy painted. It came out great. So anyway, Matt said, "Hey, you ordained." I'm like, "I'm ordained in chaos." He says, "Perfect."
Ordained in chaos.
Here's our guy.
He said, basically, instead of so I took it real serious and laid out this whole thing with what I thought, get the support club to fucking cook the pig, fucking, say your vows, ring bears, all that shit, but that's not what he really wanted to do. I think basically it's going to be a party, and I'm going to announce, they've been married already, it's been a while now, but I think we're really good friends, man, and he wanted me to do it, and I want to do it. That's happening tomorrow during the day, and then I'll do the Ripple,
Ripple Fest down in, is that down in, that's outside of
wait a second. Tomorrow's Ripple Fest, and then wedding day is the day that we play the Lost.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't get
I'm
those two.
I'm a little
don't get those
confused
two
myself.
confused. Because somebody's going to be unhappy.
No, I would not.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, brother, I very much appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. This has been great. There's a lot of firsts tonight. I said it on the interview with Eric earlier. I've never seen The Obsessed. I've never seen The Skull. And I've never seen Henry play drums.
Oh, come on, man.
I've never seen it.
I mean, well, you're in for
you're in for a real treat.
If that was the only thing that's happened, you'd still be in for it.
Oh, he is.
He's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I've known him for several years
And he
now.
is the real. He is the real. I mean, he's what really is pulling us all together. I mean, when he joined Vitus, man, he was pretty fire in that band. I mean,
he's a machine.
When Armando died, I mean, it would have been Vitus. I mean, at Vitus, we did reunite. But yeah. And he breathed fire into that stuff, man. You know?
Yeah, he's a great friend, and he's a high energy guy.
Yeah, he's a
And
workhorse.
he's the one that's going to make this happen.
And
so
he
cool.
lives and breathes music, you know. And
Yeah.
not to mention he's got the museum.
He's
Oh,
got-
he does have the museum. That house is insanity.
It is insanity.
I tried to
I love
follow in
it.
his footsteps, but I'm like a junior varsity version of Henry.
Oh, but you're not far behind. You got a great place too.
See, Henry has this natural ability to make money, like you know.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I know.
and that's important too.
Yeah.
We're all just riding his coattails,
Yeah.
no matter what we're involved in.
I
with
think
it.
it's the music, and the music always pulls together. Rock pulls together, no matter where I am. No matter where I am, somebody will come up to me and say, "Dude, I love your shit." I mean, that's my reward.
Yeah. Oh,
That's my
yeah.
reward all the way.
Right. So we'll hit you with one last question, and we'll let you go because I know your lady came in.
She's got him.
Yeah. So what is ahead for Vice and the Obsessed?
Well, I'm out of Vice. I'm not
Yeah.
saying Vice anymore.
All done with Vice.
Yeah, all done with Vice. You know, it wasn't really my choice, but you know, at the same time, I think it was probably good for my health. Gotta walk the walk, man. You know, Vitus was a heavy band. I had to get really low to be in that band. But the Obsessed is still cooking strong. Basically, all I do, I play acoustic guitar as Wino, and then the Obsessed. I think we're gonna do a couple records for Ripple.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's
Fantastic.
awesome. Are you guys playing Psycho Vegas?
I'm playing acoustic at Psycho Vegas.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people are like, you know, wondering what's been happening, and I guess I am too. But I mean,
If you brought the boys with you, you never know. I'm sure you could borrow a cab and a guitar.
well,
and
at this point in time, I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we could probably get on that bill because I guess all the black metal bands couldn't come over.
Oh, that's right.
Friday, I think the one day is like the whole day. That was like black metal days. I mean, sure, that was like a large part of the people coming.
Yeah, Emperor and some
Mayhem.
and Mayhem and all those. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really know why it's that happened. I don't know what's on their side or our side or whatever it is. All I know is the whole thing.
Well,
Right on.
there you go. So there's a nice update from the legendary, well, not legendary because you're not
The
dead.
living legend.
The living legend.
Living legend.
Point in time, like you say whatever you want to say.
Hey man, thank you for coming on with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, check you out.
Safe
See you
travels,
out.
brother. I look forward to the set. Awesome, man.
Right on.
Cheers,
See ya.
brother. There he goes, the great Wino. And metal, you know what metal does. It will prevail.
Metal will prevail, and it just did.
It sure as hell did.
It has all night.